Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Apocalicious Podcast. I'm your host, Jade, here with your other host, Robin. We know we're your favorite podcast of all time, and we're here to talk about democracy in our world, what it means to us. And I don't know, there's a lot happening around the world at the moment. So what's your take? What's your general outlook on the world right now, Robin?
Oh my God, it's terrifying, actually. It's so scary, especially with, the war that our current administration just started. And, I mean, we all know it's to get out of midterms so that he doesn't have to do the midterms, which is scary and not good. No bueno. But, yeah, everything's a little bit chaotic right now. I feel like democracy is necessary and being abandoned at the current time. What about you? What do you think?
Right. I'm kind of in a similar boat. There's a lot of stuff happening all over the world that I don't think any of us want or have wanted, and I feel like it's because democracy is kind of taking more of a backseat to the these populist, almost authoritarian leaders that are rising up and starting to gain more control of the world. And it's kind of we need to take a step back and kind of just look at democracy and how power has kind of loosened up around here and how we even got to this point, and so that kind of brings us to the first question: what is democracy to us? What does it do to us? What role does it play in our lives? What's your answer to that, Robin? The long, short of it, whatever. Go on.
Well, I've been going to protests and different meetings for as long as I can remember. Oh my God, I don't know. Democracy is, to me, very, very important, which, I mean, I think that most people that live in a democratic state would believe democracy is important, but I feel like democracy means just letting people have a voice. Even it doesn't matter who you are. Democracy, the point of it is that you are meant to have a voice in one way or another. And I mean, currently with our democracy, a lot of people are not having a voice because, as you said before, authoritarianism is on the rise, which is terrifying. The looming threat of World War III is a constant in our lives at this time. And I don't know, democracy is just a necessary means of giving the people a voice.
Right, exactly. With the Santa Fe trip that we took, a couple of weeks ago, I mean, just being able to see the Senate and the House, get a firsthand account and see them debate these bills or these things that they want to pass, and these are the representatives that we have as New Mexican residents have voted in order to kind of fight for what we think is right, because I feel regardless, in this world, I guess, we're all just trying to do, or I think the common person, this doesn't really apply more so for billionaires, because whatever. But I think we're just all kind of trying to go and vote for our own worldview on what we think is best in life. And that's with Republicans, Democrats, whatever. We're all just trying to steer the ship in a way that we think would be right for the world. Now we're going to have disagreements on that, and that's unfortunately gonna cause a lot of division in our world. But the main point of democracy is so we can elect these leaders and these people to help fight for what we think is right, and kind of just get the best of both worlds out of that, out of the legislative sessions, or even just out of just hearings.
A lot of people don't realize just how common a lot of people are in office, but something that really clicked with me while we were there in Santa Fe was we were talking to, and forgive me, I don't remember his name, but one of the assistants, right? And he was like, yeah, and I regularly work at
Trader Joe's.
At Trader Joe's, yeah. And I was like, holy crap, that's crazy. He just works at Trader Joe's, just an average guy like us. That's so wild to me. Because a lot of people, think of government officers as the elite.
Right. I don't know. My main takeaway from the entire trip up there was that even though these people they are kind of put on a pedestal because again they're voting for what we believe in as a collective of the areas that they represent. Even though they kind of have that prestige, they're still just regular people, especially talking with Representative Cadena. what's it called? Like, most people would think of, like, representatives as these, like, kind of, like, figureheads, these, like, abstract ideas, and they're just, like, oh, like, they're either fighting for what I want or they're fighting against what I want. But no, they're just people fighting for what they believe in. And, like, because of what they believe in, like, we as a people have elected them into, like, you know, office and, like, in order to, like, help, like, take care of business. And it's just kind of, like, it's so humanizing because with a lot of them or a lot of the people that we talk to up there, like, anytime we ask them what led you down, or like what led you here, what led you to like either either becoming Secretary of State or like the I forgot, but it's the lawyer of the governor.
Yeah.
And pretty much everybody answered like, oh, this wasn't my first choice. This wasn't a thing that I kind of saw like from a kid, like, or since I was a kid, that I need to do this, I want to do this, I'm going to strive to do this in my life. It's just kind of like they just naturally gravitated towards like politics and at least like trying to better the world in a way that they thought was like the most feasible and like a way that they themselves could do. Especially with Maggie Toulos, the Secretary of State.
I think so.
She was just the county clerk, and she ended up becoming Secretary of State. I mean, not to say like, oh, like you just fall into that position. It comes in naturally. Like, of course, they've had to like campaign and like, of course, like what's it called? Like, try and like implement what they like the good that they believe in the world, and at least like try and help their communities and surrounding areas. These are just regular people who fall into that role, you know.
Something I thought was interesting about the Secretary of State was she did just sort of stumble into the role of Secretary of State, but she also said that she had politics in her blood, which was the first time I had heard that while in Santa Fe, because everyone else was like, oh yeah, I had no interest in politics, and then suddenly I was here, type of thing. But with her, she was like, I've always been interested in politics, my family was interested in politics growing up, so she did kind of work towards that her whole life. So I guess you get it from both sides. It's the people that didn't have the experiences, they also get into these awesome roles and get to make so much change, and then you get the people that have worked towards it their whole lives that have those roles, which, I don't know, that's just super cool.
Right, exactly. And that sort of kind of goes back to like what, like the question that we kind of asked, I guess, and it's like, what is democracy to us? Like these like are like, this is kind of like not like an ideal form of democracy, because there could be like a lot of things improved, but it's sort of like common people in office, like with their like own held beliefs, like voted to represent and then vote fairly like on these different issues. And I mean like, but I mean, it takes like kind of like a smaller role in our life, I guess, or at least like it would seemingly take a smaller role in our life, because like this isn't our career. We still are gonna have jobs. We're still gonna have school on the side, and so we can't put all of our focus into this. But at least to me, democracy is I'm gonna pay attention to these issues that are affecting not just myself but others around my community, and just like the different people that I know, and like you know. And so like I try and vote for the people that I think are gonna like make the best decision, the people that are gonna make the best choices like in their time in office. And that's kind of what I feel like democracy means to a lot of people, not just myself, but it does play a huge role in our life, even like if other people are gonna like lie or say otherwise, you know.
It's really interesting to see how everything functions in office. I think there's like a lot of people that don't know that the sessions that happen are, at least in state levels, are public. They are public sessions. Anyone can go and just sit in and listen to a session, and that's hard for people that have like school, college, those sorts of things. But if you get the opportunity to go and experience those sessions in person, it's like incredible to see what all these people go through just every day. They're just sitting there for hours on end. They had to have food like brought to them because they were just so busy like talking about obviously important issues. And I don't know, it's sad that there's not as much of an incentive to be a part of that change, I guess. I do think that will be changed pretty soon with the new bill that was just passed to in, I believe, what was it, 2029, that they're going to start paying our senators.
Yeah, I think so. It could be in 2027, but I could also just be wrong. I'm not too sure.
I think it was 2029 because they had to wait until they were out of office to enact it. So I don't know. We'll have to look into that in the future. But I hope that there's a lot more of an incentive for, first of all, younger people to apply to these positions and run for these positions and whatever. And also just anyone interested that thinks that they would be a good representative for their community, who like knows the issues in their community. I don't know. What do you think?
I kind of feel a little bit optimistic because I feel like in these hard times, unfortunately, like, and I don't mean this like in a, oh, it's finally time, but a lot of people are coming to the realization that not everyone has their best interests at heart. I mean, unfortunately, some of these representatives, they're fighting for like corporate or like their own like desires and like what they want to see. And it's like, I get to an extent that is kind of everybody or like all the representatives, but it's kind of like in a way that they're going to disregard their constituents. They're going to disregard like what they want and stuff like that, right? And so I feel like because of that, and especially because of the current administration, I mean, it's a huge punching bag. So unfortunately, you're going to hear that a lot. Sorry.
Oopsies.
But it's kind of like people are coming to realize that we need to be together. We need to be strong together. We need to actually, like put our voices where they matter and like where we can make a difference. I mean, not just like in the voting like booths or like, but like within our communities, like we need to help each other more. And I feel like that's something that it's like a growing sentiment now, despite what many may say. I feel like a lot of us are coming together to unite for like common causes that we believe are just like general good to our society. And I feel like that's kind of like affecting like the, I guess like sort of broken democratic systems we have in this country, because unfortunately we have many loopholes here that are just kind of used and or like many huge horrible corporations that are just like giving money to all these like representatives all over the country, not just here in Mexico. No name drops, but I mean, like you give them, like they give like the representatives money, like huge amounts of money, and it's kind of just like, oh, well, I got to do what they say now because obviously I want that brand new, like, I need that sports car. I need that nice mansion like on the hill over there that I wanted. I need to go to Red Lobster for like the 5th time today because honestly I didn't get enough of those crab legs. Like, just like stuff like that, those materialistic items, I guess. And so it's kind of just like, unfortunately, it's being abused, but at the same time, like again, like a lot of people in general, at least like people who are like kind of paying attention and trying to like see what they take from this, they're kind of coming to that realization, and that's why you're getting a lot of people in like different communities like trying to help to kind of like fight off like all the horrible things that are happening in this country, like even within, like we're not just talking about the wars outside, but like the homelessness epidemic, like the criminalization of like just being homeless, or like the failure of like our judicial system, or at least like the punishments that we give out, and like just our general like what's it called, like jailing systems, I guess, and just like how those horrible conditions kind of just like promote like gang violence, or at least like indoctrination into like different cultures that someone might like have otherwise not have been pushed to,
Yeah.
And it's just kind of, I don't know, it's a bit bleak, but I feel like there is like a good takeaway that like there are some of us like still fighting the good fight. And unfortunately, like for minorities who have always been forced to fight this fight, and I'm talking about like people in the LGBTQ plus community, like neurodivergent people, like people of color, of course. Like, I mean, I'm Mexican, so like it's close to home, but just like other people as well, like African Americans, like
pretty
like
much
Europeans,
anyone
like
that isn't white in the U.S. at least.
If you're like, exactly, and I feel like people are gonna get tired of hearing this, but like we need to reinforce this. If you're not a like straight white cis like guy in the world, like what's it called? Like you're gonna find oppression one way or another in this country, and it's like built, or it's kind of like the foundation of this country, at least. Unfortunately. And so like with all these like different and like huge problems, what's it called, like you can get you get kind of bleak with it. It's not all fun and games. It's not all like happy times, I guess, as much as we would want it to be. And we just kind of have to realize that, and kind of realize that without our involvement, things are not going to change. Without us trying to do something, things are not going to change. And and going back to democracy in our everyday, like, of course, like, we need to vote. We need to be, like, well-informed and, like, keep, like, involvement, like, or, like, keep some form of attention and involvement on, like, our representatives and, like, those that we vote into office. But I feel like democracy in the everyday could also just be, like, helping our communities and, like, I don't know. I guess that's not really democracy, but, like, we need to help in our communities as well.
Democracy is a lot of things. Democracy doesn't just have to take place in office. Democracy is... So if you've ever been to a protest, one of the chants while walking is typically, show them what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. That's my favorite. I love that one so much. I have led it a couple of times. But basically just what it is in general is like this... I mean, democratic is the way of describing it. How do you describe democratic? It's just a way of giving people a voice, like you, by putting things to vote or making just, sorry, I'm fumbling here.
All good. Take your time.
It's like here in college at NMSU, represent Aggies. You have to, like a lot of different clubs, there's a million clubs, and each time there's a club, they have to have some sort of officers. So they always put it to vote for the people in the club who's going to be an officer for this year. If that makes sense. So there's tiny little bits of democracy everywhere, and it all starts with just knowing your rights, knowing the rules of the game, because you have to play by the rules of the game, and a lot of the rules of this game are contradictory, unfortunately, but as long as you know and understand, like, the rights of the Constitution or the individual rights of each state or even the individual rights of, say, your university or just your home, whatever, that's what democracy is. You know your rights, you know how to exercise your rights, and just you know what to do.
Right. Going back to what you said about democracy is like a lot of things, and it's not just like of those in office. Yeah, I agree. Democracy is kind of just the power is with the people ultimately at the end of the day. It shouldn't be within anybody else, and
it was written in our Constitution.
Right. And the needs of one shouldn't like outweigh the needs of everyone, unfortunately. What we should be like looking for, I guess, is like finding like the power in our lives to at least like help make and inspire change in the world, because a lot of people, they just give up or they don't believe that they have a say. The amount of people that I've unfortunately talked to, like during the 2020, I think it was 2024 elections, the amount of people that I talked to that essentially said, "Oh, I didn't vote because my vote doesn't really matter," it's horrible. It's horrendous, and
it's
the thing
disheartening.
Right. And the thing is too about like. I mean, we're getting better now, but about like still like half or like 60% of the country doesn't vote. And so that means if we actually had all of the country vote, or all the eligible like people in the country vote whenever it was like voting season for anything, that would have single-handedly changed the outcome of every single election, or it could have at the very least, like it could have changed the outcome of every single election that we've ever had. And it's so disheartening to see that more people than not, they don't vote. Like the majority do not vote.
It's so sad.
Right.
Voting is so important, too. 'Cause, okay, for a lot of us, because, yeah, there's a lot of white people, too, but even women, the majority of people in this country are not white men, cis white men. And so for pretty much everybody else, we had to work to earn the right to vote. We had to exercise our democratic right for the, let's see, what was it? The right to assembly was, I think, the Second Amendment? Something like that. It's one of the amendments. It's one of the first 5 amendments is the right to peaceably assemble. And so we had to exercise that for hundreds and hundreds of years for, I mean, most of this country, most of whoever is here, right, had to assemble and fight to earn the right to vote. And so when people are not exercising their right to vote simply because they think, oh, it doesn't matter, they're just going against what everyone in history fought to have, pretty much. And I mean, even with cis white men, they still had to fight to get a right to vote because think of how this country began. We didn't have the right to vote on where our money was going, so we fought.
Right.
I don't know. It's sad to see that people think that they really don't matter that much because everybody's vote matters, and it doesn't seem like it. But I mean, we talked about the way that votes are counted and taken care of, and it's so extensive. They go out of their way to make sure there's not miscounts. They recount like 1,000,000 times. If there's a mistake, they go through extensive lengths just to fix the mistake and then recount again, and it's insane.
Right. I feel like, unfortunately, it's just a common sentiment nowadays to just kind of be, especially with what Professor Hirschauer was saying, being down on democracy. Like, people are so like pessimistic. They're so cynical of like our systems that we have, and I understand that there's a reason for that. But at the same time, I guess like forfeiting control, like basically just like, what's the right word for this? Like forfeiting like our rights, like, or like forfeiting that opportunity that you have to like make change. It's gonna outweigh any money that they can give to our representatives, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we can just vote them out, or just like, what's it called? Like, even in town halls, like we can just like go in and, or like, what's it called, during like town house meetings or whatever they're called, that our representatives have, even on the federal level. We can just go in there and basically basically tell them like what's what, like we're not gonna vote you back again if you don't like, well, this isn't that. Because we're not happy with this. We're not happy with this. And or like if we know that they're taking money and like voting against our interest, then it's just kind of like no, like don't do this. Stop. Mm-hmm. You know.
Also, even just like if you think your voice doesn't matter in the government, you are allowed to seek. First of all, you are allowed to seek advice from your representative, and you are allowed to draft a bill. So you're allowed to write a bill for change that you think needs to happen and have a representative go represent it for you in a session.
Right.
Anybody can do that. I mean, it doesn't even matter your age. It doesn't matter anything about your personal identity. You are allowed to go draft a bill. You could be 13 years old and think, oh, this needs to change. And of course, you're going to need some help, but it's something anyone can do, and not a lot of people know that, and not a lot of people exercise it because they don't know that, which is why so many people think they don't have a voice in government proceedings.
Right. I don't know. It's just like we hold a lot more power than we would think, and I feel like in our everyday people don't realize that. And so democracy is just kind of like this thing that we think about, that we're like, oh yeah, this country was founded with like democratic principles and like an idea of like, oh, it's a representative democracy. We need to do this and that, and we have power. But people have just given up that power because they don't think that can make change. But they do that not knowing we have all of the power to make the change that we want to see in the world. And I feel like that's just something that we need to realize. And so until we get a massive win, like, I don't know, impeaching the president or something on that big of a scale, like, we won't really realize but we need to fight in order to make that happen in the first place, because okay, so for like the final like closing like segment, I guess I'm gonna say this. Shortly after World War II was won by the Allies, right? Kids in France and in the UK and in America, they were all asked, like, what do you think about the future? Like, what do you think the future holds for humanity? And they were talking about flying cars, like we're going to have teleportation, we're going to have, like, free food for everybody.
Oh my gosh.
Everybody's going to be living in mansions, like, up in space. But when you ask, like, kids nowadays the same thing, and sorry, I don't have a source for this. My apologies. But if you ask kids today for the same thing, you just get, I just want money. I just want to be able to live a life where I don't have to work until I die. And I feel like that's one of the saddest things or saddest realizations anyone can come to, because we had all this hope after such a horrible time, but I feel like it's just building up. And fortunately or unfortunately, we're going to have to fight in order to make our dreams reality. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's just a perpetual fight that we're going to have, because there are always going to be people working against our best interests. But I feel like no matter what, humanity's perseverance will always triumph. That's just my own personal belief, so feel free to disagree. But at the very least, like, we will fight to live on. So.
Yeah, and I mean, that hope is so vital right now and so hard to come by. I mean, even I'm an optimist, and even I have trouble being an optimist right now, because it just feels like the world is crumbling apart around us. But it's important to find those little victories and little bits of hope to, keep fighting and to keep believing that everything we do matters.
Right, exactly. And I don't know. I feel like we are going to make it there in the end. It's just a matter of how much are we going to be pushed around before we come to that realization. But yeah. Any other closing remarks?
I don't think so.
Well, this has been an episode with the Apocalicious Podcast. We hope you're all having a lovely, lovely day, week, month, and hopefully that this year is going to get a little bit better for you. Stay safe out there, everyone. See you later.